Welcome back to Community Tapestry, and I tell you what, like I was saying in the earlier segment, we've got a great guest for you, and if you read books, you've got to make sure you do not change that channel. You know what I'm talking about?
That's right.
You know, and all of this month, you know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and you know, our guest this evening, recently she published a book, and she co-authored the same book on the very subject of domestic violence. Toni, the general title of self-help novel is a highly acclaimed When the Devil is Beating His Wife. So please welcome to our show, Miss Melanie Houston.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome you to the show. And before we get started, though, Melanie, we you know, there was this incredible trailer that was put together for the book. And when you see this, and this is just part of the trailer. So after our viewing audience sees the trailer, you've got to go and get on YouTube and watch this trailer because it's incredible. But we're just going to give you an idea.
Just a little taste.
Just a little taste of it.
Baby, I want us to start all over, Brandon begged. I'm a changed man and my life is not the same without you. I'm taking anger management classes again, and this time I'll see them through. I promise. Brandon, you've started those classes twice only to abandon them because you were bored, said Caitlin, the skepticism showing in her voice. The only person in this relationship who's changed is me. I'm not the same woman you met a year and a half ago. I'll never be the same, and I'm never coming back. I'm done. As Caitlin turned to walk away, Brandon grabbed her arm and yanked her to his chest. His eyes changed, and immediately Caitlin sensed that violence was about to erupt. She had watched and starred in this movie before. Don't you dare leave me like this, Kate. I'm the best thing that ever happened to you. You know you want me. Who do you think you are anyway? You can't make it without me. Her heart pounded and her head began to throb. Wrenching herself from Brandon's grip, she tried to slip between two cars and run. Her only safety was the school, and the nearest door was at least 40 yards away.
Wow, that is powerful, and that's just part of it. And so even the book, I just can't even imagine reading the book.
And those were excerpts, I think, from your book, right?
Exactly.
And usually trailers go with movies. Why did you choose to make a trailer for a book?
I have to give the credit to my co-author, Iris Cooper. This was entirely her idea, and I had doubts about it. But she proceeded and found Mike Tavares, Tavtel Media, and he put together a fantastic video as a book trailer. So we thought this would really help people understand what the book is about. Particularly, not everyone understands the title, When the Devil Was Beating His Wife. What does that mean?
Right, what does it mean?
I knew you were going to ask. So I grew up hearing this when I was young, and many people from the South, particularly in the African American community, you know, you have these sayings that go on. And I remember, and Iris said her grandmother told her, when the sun is shining and it's raining at the same time. You've seen that happen before. We all have. It's shining, sun shining over here, thunderstorm over here, or raining. Well, they used to say when the sun is shining, or when it's the sun is shining and it's storming at the same time, that means the devil is beating his wife. And so we both grew up hearing that. So when she told me that she wanted to write this book to help women recover and heal from domestic violence, and that was the title, I knew exactly what she meant. Because many women in domestic violence, most, if not all, you have one side where your face is this to the public or to your family and your friends. The other side is your relationship when you go home, or when you're with your husband, your abuser. That's when it's storming. That's when it's raining. And because oftentimes women don't reveal that they're in that predicament or in that situation, no one knows. And so you present two faces.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about a woman, but who's the typical victim in a domestic violence situation that you found?
Most are women. Not to say that women are not batterers themselves and men don't get battered. There is growing evidence and information about battered men. It tends to not be discussed because men, who would, don't want to admit my wife or my partner is abusing me. So there's a stigma attached to domestic violence, but there's even more of a stigma attached to men. And so oftentimes it's even less talked about and discussed. We don't discuss that in the book because that's not where our experiences and the experiences of our friends and family come from. But there is a resource in the back of the book for men.
So this book has actually been titled a self-help novel. And can you tell us how it came to have that genre?
We didn't have a genre for it to perfectly fit, so we created one. That's what we did because
we have a niche.
She's an entrepreneur and she's enterprising with her words.
And because part of the book is about 3 fictional women survivors. The other part is about how you actually remove yourself safely from intimate partner abuse and recover and start to heal and look at yourself and build your self-confidence. It's also inspirational in that we use scriptures. We're very clear and open about how we came to write the book in terms of our background as being 2 Christian women. And so we could not write this book without that. And a key part of it and what we talk about in terms of recovery is forgiveness. And I know that crosses many faiths, which is great. So we don't want the fact that there's scripture in here to keep women and men from different faiths from reading it. You can still come away with the same principles of, in a 90-day period, if you follow certain things and do certain things, that you can begin to heal. Because it's a traumatic experience and lifestyle for some people several years.
Well, let me just, because you talked about the process in the book about, in domestic violence, getting out, and then where do you go from here? But, for our viewing audience who might not have an opportunity to read the book right away, why don't women and men who are being battered get out of this situation right off the bat when they see the first signs of violence?
Right at the beginning. Yeah, why don't you just go, you know what? Yeah,
Gotta go.
You hit me once, I'm out of here.
This is it. Well, there could be any number of reasons. It could be economic. He may be the sole breadwinner or the major breadwinner. And oftentimes women or men aren't aware of the resources that are available to assist them to remove themselves safely. They're afraid if I leave and he finds me or she, it'll be even worse. Or I have children. I don't want to break up the marriage. I want to see if I can make it work. Maybe I can change him or her. If I'm just patient and see this through, it'll change, it'll get better. The reasons are unlimited. And when someone is being physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually abused, it's not healthy. And what we want people to see is that if you recognize these signs, because we give checklists to say if this is happening or if this is occurring, if he or she says this or does this, you may be in an abusive situation. It may be time to remove yourself. And we've all heard the tragic stories of people being killed. Since we started writing the book, and even since we unveiled the book and began to unveil it last week, every time we talk about it, someone else comes forward that we know usually and says, it happened to me too. But because of the stigma, it's not shared.
Right.
But once they start to see and they, there's a book, then they open up and they share with us. And the proportion and the enormous amount of domestic violence that's taking place amazes me. And it's sad, it's hurtful that we as people, as human beings, do that to each other.
And it's probably a form of, some kind of sickness. And, people would do better if only they knew better. Sometimes abusers don't know better. You did talk earlier about, not really focusing on men, but there's so many times when you read a book, especially if it's something that's supporting women, it has a tendency to bash the men. How is your book different?
We talked about that. And one of the things we didn't want the book, or we didn't want to come away with, is that there's no hope, or men or the abusers can't recognize that their behavior isn't healthy, it's not, what it needs to do. Abuse is abuse, whether you're a man or a woman. And it's not about battering or bashing, if you will, men. It's about being honest about the fact that this occurs. And we're not making it up so that we look like it's time for us to get back. Mm-hmm. No, we're trying to help women get out, or people get out. It is not about a bash, a book to bash or to vent. But the main thing that, as I talk to women, I say to them is that the first thing you need to do to move on is you need to forgive. Mm-hmm. So it's not about the bashing. If you pull anything out of the book, pull out forgiveness and the fact that you can heal. And a lot of that healing takes place when you start to forgive.
And it also seems like in the book you talk about, that it takes some time. Can you talk about the timeline and the time frames that sometimes things happen?
Well, it's different for everyone. Iris is the brainchild, if you will, behind the 90-day plan, because she's used it in so many different aspects of her life. So when she talked about writing the book, she said 90 days. When, I go through something I know that in 90 days, if I change my mindset, if I change my habits, then I make a change in my life. So she applied that to this book in terms of writing it. So we say in about 90 days, if you stick with it, if you keep working on it. We're not saying that it's perfect, but we're giving people a time frame with a hope to say, you can start. It might take 6 months. I've talked to people who, I'll give you an example. Iris talked to a friend who was reading the book and couldn't finish because every time she started reading it, she just broke into tears because even though she's remarried, she hasn't healed. It's trauma. It's a traumatic event, particularly if someone has been in it for any extended period of time. And one of the things we say up front is we're not counselors. We're not psychologists. We're not trying to do the job of qualified, trained professionals. We say in the book, get counseling. Go to someone professional. Make sure you have support. This book is not written from the perspective of two psychologists. We don't make that claim. We say right up front, please get counseling for yourself, for your children. Pray that your abuser gets counseling, because that's how people are going to change and grow. Mm-hmm. And that's where I can say we don't bash.
It sounds like, to your point that you're not two professionals or psychologists, what have you, but it sounds like you're two sisters. Your two sisters got together and says, I want to help my other sister out here.
Right.
Absolutely.
Is that how this book came about?
In a way, yes. We've been friends and colleagues from the 90s and would often run into each other. And she had told me she was trying to write a book, and one day we ran into each other at a Walmart of all places. And I asked her about the book. How's it coming?
And hopefully Walmart will be carrying your book.
And she just said, I just can't, finish it. And I said, okay, come on. You come over to the office. You talk, I'll write. And at first it was just getting out everything. And then we started to, you take this chapter, I'll take this one. Or I started writing this and I just couldn't put an ending to it, or I couldn't fix the middle. Can you, I'll throw it to you. So we would email back and forth.
Oh, wow.
And this went on for a little over a year. And I have to thank,
It was supposed to be 90
right.
days. That's what I heard, 90 days.
Thank my husband for being so patient with me in the whole process. And why is it taking so long to finish?
Because you said 90 days.
Exactly, and that's what he expected. And we just started sharing and throwing emails back and forth. Sometimes it'd be one a week, two a week. Sometimes it might be one a month, but we kept working at it. We wanted it to be like an airplane read. We didn't want anything that, you'd have to take weeks to read. You get on a plane, by the time you get to Atlanta or LA or Vegas or someplace, you're like, oh, okay, I know how I can start.
That's right.
Okay.
And so that was the point of the book. And
But it's
we just, we co-wrote it. And it turned out to be something, it turned out to be what she intended, but it turned out to be something more. Because as we wrote it, we began to grow and change even in our outlook about a number of things. I just have to say God stepped in, and he even did a work in us. And right before we published, we just said, yeah.
Well, that's amazing, and I think I have your next idea for the book, because when you talked about that, when you talked about that ladies came up to you and were talking about the book and what they were going through, so maybe you use those stories. And so that people so you have more characters, but also people can then relate to all that also. But we are running out of time, and I wish we could talk forever. But the thing is, we want to make sure that everybody gets out there to read the book first of all, because it is helpful.
How do they find
the book? Well, we're working on getting it in local bookstores. It is an ebook that will be in online at Smashwords, SMASH. words.com, but also at my website, www.alabasterboxmedia.com.
alabasterboxmedia.com.
Yes.
And get the book.
At Iris Cooper's website, justaskiris.com. We have the book on both of our websites.
Great.
And the video, if you want to see the whole trailer, go to alabasterboxmedia.com or justaskiris.com.
I tell you what, so somebody sees the trailer, they're going to be like, okay,
wow.
I'm getting the book. You say you have a Facebook page also?
Yes. Just go to Melanie Houston or Alabaster Box Media on Facebook, and you can get to the Facebook page, but you can just hit us at the website. We'll get the book out to you, and we want to get it around the world, just to create a buzz.
It's a worthy read.
It is. It's going to happen, I'm sure. Especially since you've been on our show.
On your anniversary.
On your anniversary.
Yes.
Yes, and happy anniversary.
Thank you
How many years
much.
has it been?
It's been 4 years.
4 years.
Wonderful, awesome years. My husband came down. He's in the studio audience, if you will, and waiting very patiently for me.
That's right.
He waited a whole year.
He said 4 years ago we were in the Bahamas, and now you got me in the studio. I'm trying to go.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, we appreciate though that the book, and we wish you the best.
Absolutely.
Wish you the best.
Thank you both.
Yes. Oprah has something, so we'll see you on Oprah some way somehow.
It is the goal.
Okay, just don't forget about us.
That's right.
We won't.
All right, we got you to where you are today.
No, we didn't. We're just a conduit.
But what we did get ourselves, we have got ourselves to the end of the show. So, with that being said, we make sure that you hit us up on or hit the Community Relations Commission up on Facebook at Columbus Community Relations Commission.
I'm not on that page.
I know you're not, but Columbus Community Relations Commission. And then also, if you have show ideas or questions, you can also give our office a call at 645-1993, and you can ask for me, Napoleon Bell. But we appreciate you being a part of letting us into your home for the show, and we will see you next month. Have a great week.